So I can even put it in the WhatsApp so that you can practice at home. Because we have had an extensive introduction, and now we can go to the chapter. We will start at chapter 1. Om Parthaya Praviboodhitam Bhagavata Narayanena Swayam Vyasena Gratitam Puranamina Madhye Mahabharatam Advaitamritavarshinim Bhagavatim Ashtadashaധ്യായിനീം അംബത്വാമനുസന്ദധാമി ഭഗവദ്ഗീതേ ഭവദ്വേഷിണീം നമോസ്തുതേ വ്യാസവിശാലബുദ്ധേ തുലാരവിന്ദായ തപത്രനേത്ര യേന ത്വയാ ഭാരതതൈലപൂർണഃ പ്രജ്വാലിതോ ജ്ഞാനമയഃ പ്രദീപഃ. Last two. മൂകം കരോതി വാചാലം പങ്കും ലംഘയത്തെ ഗിരിം യത്കൃപാതമഹം വന്ദേ പരമാനന്ദമാധവം. യം ബ്രഹ്മാ വരുണേന്ദ്രരുദ്രമരുതഃ ശൃണ്വന്തി ദിവ്യൈസ്തവൈः വേദൈः സാംഗപദക്രമോപനിഷदैः ഗായन्ति സാഗः ജ്ഞാനാവസ്ഥിതതർക്കतेന മനസാ പശ്യन्ति യം യോഗിനഃ. Not yogino, okay? No. All right. ധ്യാനാവസ്ഥിതതർക്കतेന മനസാ പശ്യन्ति യം യോഗിനഃ. യസ്യാന്തം ന വിദുഃസുരാസുരഗണാഃ ദേവായ തസ്മൈ നമഃ. ദേവായ തസ്മൈ നമഃ. ഓം സഹനാ ഭവതു സഹനൗ ഭുനക്തു സഹ വീര്യം കരവാവഹൈ തേജസ്വിനാവധീതമസ്തു മാ വിദ്വിഷാവഹൈ. ഓം ശാന്തി ശാന്തി ശാന്തി. You can hear back there. Yes. The first chapter is still the introduction and constitutes the context of the Bhagavad Gita. The teaching will begin with the 11th verse of the second chapter. Until then, it is just it covers the first chapter up till the 10th verse of chapter 2 will cover the following topics. First topic is the Nirikshanam. Nirikshanam means the inspection and the accounting of the players, the warriors on both sides. That is one topic. That topic goes from verse number 2 practically all the way up to verse number 11. That topic. And what is that topic? Yeah, introduction to the warriors. Who are the people? declaration of the war, and then how the war was declared through the blowing of the conch shells and what all happened, etc. from verse number 12 to 20. That is the topic. Then from the next section, verse 21 to 27 is the situation of Arjuna. What we call Dharma Sankata, Arjuna's quandary, Arjuna's conflict, and the description of what all is happening to Arjuna. That constitutes the subject, the subtopic up till verse 27, and that topic continues, but from 28, but this time in Arjuna's own words. First it was in Sanjaya's words, and then afterwards, again back to Arjuna's own words. Along with the philosophy of why this war should not be fought. He gives a compelling account, grief-ridden and compelling account of why this war should not ever be fought. What are the consequences of war? All this he gives. And then he sighs and then puts the bow down, puts the quiver of arrows down. Why? Because he himself is quivering and trembling with emotion. And then what does he do? You're not supposed to sit in the chariot. You're a warrior, you're supposed to stand. He sits down and he just says one thing with an alarming word, an alarming sentence with which the first chapter closes. And what is that? Nayotsye. I will not fight. That's why he puts the bows and the arrows down and he sits down. And then after that he stops speaking also. Ushni Pabhuva. He becomes quiet. Then the second chapter, and we'll only go up to verse 10 because this is still the context. Then the second chapter has the topic of the dialogue between Bhagavan Sri Krishna and Arjuna about why this war should be fought. And then from the 11th verse, the teaching begins. Up till then, these are the topics. Okay, so Om Adha Prathamo Dhyayah.
Om Adha Prathamo Dhyayah.
Dhritarashtra Uvacha.
Dhritarashtra Uvacha.
Dharma Kshetre Kurukshetre.
Dharma Kshetre Kurukshetre. Sanjaya.
पश्यैतां पाण्डुपुत्राणाम् आचार्यमहतीं च मूम् व्यूढां द्रुपदपुत्रेण तव शिष्येण धीमता अत्र शूरा महेश्वासाः भीमार्जुनसमायुधि युयुधानो विराटश्च द्रुपदश्च महारथः धृष्टकेतुश्चेकितानः काशीराजश्च वीर्यवान् कुरुचित् कुन्तिभोजश्च शैब्यश्च नरपुङ्गवः युधामन्युश्च विक्रान्तः not विक्रान्तः युधामन्युश्च विक्रान्तः उत्तमौजाश्च वीर्यवान् सौभद्रो द्रौपदेयाश्च I'm hearing द्रौपदेयाश्च. So these are Draupadi's sons. So it should be Draupadeya. Okay. Saubhadro Draupadeyaश्च सर्व एव महारथाः not Maharatha, Maharathaः. Okay, yeah. Saubhadro Draupadeyaश्च सर्व एव महारथाः I'm not hearing Visarga at all. Yeah. It's being eaten up. Alright? Yeah. You can have a snack after this, but please articulate the Mahaprana Maharathaha. Okay? Saubhadro Draupadeyaश्च सर्व एव महारथाः Very nice. अस्माकं तु विशिष्टाये निबोधद्विजोत्तम नायका मम सैन्यस्य संज्ञार्थं तान् ब्रवीमि ते भवान् भीष्मश्च कर्णश्च सर्वे युद्धविशारदाः
सर्वे युद्धविशारदाः
अपर्याप्तं तदस्माकम्
अपर्याप्तं तदस्माकं
बलं भीष्माभिरक्षितम्
बलं भीष्माभिरक्षितं
पर्याप्तं त्विदमेतेषाम्
पर्याप्तं त्विदमेतेषां
बलं भीमाभिरक्षितम्
बलं भीमाभिरक्षितम्
अयनेषु च सर्वेषु
अयनेषु च सर्वेषु
यथा भागमवस्थिताः
यथा भागमवस्थिताः
भीष्ममेवाभिरक्षन्तु
भीष्ममेवाभिरक्षन्तु
भवन्तः सर्व एव हि
भवन्तः सर्व एव हि
It is said that whenever a work is composed, and the Bhagavad Gita, even though it occurs in the middle of the Mahabharata, has been given the status of an independent grantha, an independent manuscript. It is said that whenever a work is composed, written, there are three factors that govern the work going from the author's pen to the what is that called? Palm leaf, pen or stencil to the palm leaf, or pen to the paper, or finger to the computer keys, as it might be. Three factors govern how this work will disseminate, meaning spread, and how will it be received. The first one is called prayatna. Prayatna means what? Effort. Yatna, effort. Prayatna, total, complete, sincere, full effort. We have understood the meaning of the prefix pra. Total, full, sincere. So the sincere effort. This is in the author's hand, correct? The author makes full-fledged and sincere effort to make sure that no stone is unturned to take the manuscript to the people. That is in one's hand. Then the next factor is called kala, time. Because as soon as you write something, as soon as you put it into paper, the horary astrology, which is in Sanskritam called Prashna Shastra, it's already governed, it's already is an independent being as soon as you write something. Because there was a time you started, there was a time you ended, and that time was governed by the influence of certain planets, etc. And yes, you can make sure that you begin at an auspicious time. You take down the time that you note the time which is very good in the ephemeris, and then you begin at that time, no problem, but you don't know when you end. That's not in your hands. You end it at some point, and then when it is birthed into the world, it has its own journey and trajectory. How? Because you see, certain works suddenly get famous. Posthumously, the author has died, and many years later, nobody even knows of this book. A case in point is Advaita Makaranda, which our own Pujya Swamiji discovered in a dusty attic of a small bookshop, until it was waiting to be discovered by a Mahatma such as Pujya Swamiji, and then he dusted it off and released it to the world. everybody is now aware of it. Everybody is teaching it. Everybody is taking the nectar of the Advaita pollen. Makaranda means pollen. Pollen of non-duality. And same thing happens with temples also. There is a time when the temple becomes very famous, and then soon you will find like the temples in certain temples in a place in Karnataka. What is that place? Hampi. And there the temples are just lumpy. No worship is going on. It's all become a UNESCO heritage site. Beautiful, wonderful carvings and everything. But then you contrast it with other old temples like Brihadishwara temple, Meenakshi temple, all these ancient temples in Tanjavur, Madurai, etc. That is still very much standing and a powerful center of worship. Things are still happening there. So this is Kala. We don't know what determines a work coming to fruition and staying afloat, staying relevant in people's lives. So this is Kala. Then the third factor is called Daiva. Daivam. Daivam means the unknown variables, hidden variables, over which we have no control. We have already seen this somewhat. So, therefore, the writers of all works are encouraged, not only encouraged, it is a requirement. The writers of all works are required to say a prayer before beginning the work. A prayer has many functions, as we have seen in the Tattva Bodha prayer, to ward off obstacles in the process of writing, to make sure the work is complete, number 2, and to make sure what is the point of writing if it's not read. To make sure it is read by everybody. This is very, very important for these reasons. The prayer is a convention. It has become a requirement. It had become a requirement a long time ago, leading to the adage that if there is no prayer at the beginning of the work, do not study the book. There is a belief, I don't know how true it is, that Duryodhana wrote a book on dharma. Big joke, correct? A fellow who did not know A, B, C, D for dharma wrote a book on dharma. Where is it? Ajabhakshitam, eaten by goats, hungry goats. Okay. Why? Because of course he did not know how to pray. He did not put the prayer. There is a saying like that. I don't know how far it is true. We'll never know because even if you do postmortem on a historical goat, you're not going to get that book back. So like this, a book that does not have a prayer is not worth reading. Is there a prayer at the Bhagavad Gita? The Dhyana Shlokas do not count. Dhyana Shlokas don't count. Because that was a later interpolation, that was to get us in the mood to sing the glory of the Bhagavad Gita before we start studying it. Is there a prayer? You can see like Vasudevendra Yogindram Nattva Jnanapradam Guru. Is it there? No. Shall we say Purnamadaha Purnamidam? Not so fast. Because a prayer can be of two kinds. Overt prayer. Vasudevendra Yogindram, overt prayer. Namah Shri Shankarananda Guru Padambu Janmane Savila Samaha Moha Graha Grasaika Karmane. Opening prayer of Panchadashi. Overt prayer. But then there is also a clever way to pray. Like Vriddhiradait. It is what? Who? What? What? First sutra of body. In fact, the whole thing is aphorisms, sutras. And if he starts composing Vasudevendra Yogi, it will be kind of a little aruchi, little disappointing. Little bit disappointing. What? Such a big sutrakara whose pride, whose glory is in putting things so succinctly. Even a small half a syllable is thought about 10 times. Do we really need it? And then only it is put. So he combines a samgya. Samgya means a name. A name for the elongation of certain vowels. The second level of elongation of certain vowels. He names this operation called vriddhi. And the vriddhi letters, what letters undergo this operation, he gives. And if you look at the sutra there, At and H. So that we need not go into right now. Some other time you can look at it, because it will take us way far away from the Bhagavad Gita. So he just defines the operation and the letters that are involved in the operation. But the word vriddhi actually means growth. Like we saw, jayate asti vardhate, that is from vriddhi, that is to grow. So vriddhi means growth. Let there be growth. Vriddhi syat. For what? Ashtadhyayi Sutra Patha, this book of grammar. Let it be well known, let it be completed without any problems. Like this, he hides the prayer. Even in the middle also, he hides the prayer. Dhruvam apaye apadanam. Another sutra is there, discussing the fifth case. There also he hides the prayer. That which is dhruva, certain, from which everything comes. And that will be in the fifth case. That is there is a prayer at the end, there is a prayer in the middle, there is a prayer at the beginning. So there are clever ways of praying. And so Vyasa also has a very clever way of praying right in the first word. Dhritarashtra. Who is Dhritarashtra? The blind king. Blind king Dhritarashtra. But here that Dhritarashtra Sanjaya is narrating. And Dhritarashtra first asks Sanjaya to narrate. That's how it begins. With Dhritarashtra, Uvacha, Dhritarashtra said. But when you derive the word Dhritarashtra, it's a compound, Bahuvrihi compound. Bahuvrihi means a compound that describes a person. Not a quality, not a thing, but a person with certain qualities. Bahuvrihi. So, Dhritam Rashtram Yena. Dhritam, held. Rashtram, the whole Jagat. Yena, by whom this entire Jagat is held. Who could that be? Are we talking of the blind king? Yes? No? Show at least one sign of life. Yeah. Ishvara. Bhagavan. So even though Sri Bhagavan Vacha comes later, in the beginning of the second chapter, here Vyasa says the whole thing is given by Bhagavan. It's a pun. Dhritarashtra, the local Dhritarashtra, Moodha, deluded, stupid fellow, said. But while reading the Gita with this stupid fellow who could not even take the side of Dharma. No, we are not beginning with him. That's just a historical statement. We are actually beginning with Ishvara. Beautiful. Dhritarashtra Uvacha. Dhritarashtra said. And now we come back several notches to the blind king. So, Dhritarashtra was sitting in Hastinapura, in the palace, because he couldn't go to the battlefield. One arrow zings by, he can't even protect himself because he can't see where it's coming from. And then you'll have to keep a whole retinue to protect him. Who will fight if they are all secret service protection for him? So he opts to stay in the palace safely, but he's very anxious. He's pacing up and down. What is happening? What is happening? What is happening? Can't eat, can't sleep. Why? Due to the dysfunctional love for his sons, his people. In fact, everybody played in his lap. But he doesn't think of them that way. His own sons, he loves them to a fault. A kind of a toxic relationship. And so, then Vyasa appears before him and says, I will give you Divya Drishti, a kind of a divine vision through which you can look at the whole battle as though you're seeing it on TV, except they didn't have TV then, so he wouldn't have said that, but you understand. So you will get first-hand understanding of the battle. Dhritarashtra says, I will not be able to survive it. Arjuna, shooting Duryodhana, and Duryodhana crying, Mummy, Mummy, I will not be able to stand it. Okay, fine. No, but I want to know what is happening. So what to do? Then he says, give this gift to Sanjaya. So give this gift to Sanjaya. So Sanjaya will sit here with me, but then because of his some kind of a boon of this kind of a celestial vision, he will see what all is happening and he will relay that to me. By the time this gift was given, the battle had already been declared. That's why the conversation is in past tense, not in present tense. It was on the, I forget, 9th or the 10th day of the battle, then only he had, updates, briefings. And this constitutes the first chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. So, Dhritarashtra Uvacha Dharma Kshetri. Just we'll translate first, just understand the meaning of the words. Kshetra means a ground. A field is called Kshetra. And what is this? Dhritarashtra is saying, this is Dharma Kshetra. In fact, Bharata, the whole India is seen as Dharma Kshetra. This is the place where the Upanishads came. This is the place where the Bhagavad Gita came. This is the place of all the shlokas. This is the place of a very sophisticated understanding of Ishvara. This is the place of so much philosophy. Dvaita, Vishishta Dvaita, Veda, Vedavada, Advaita, everything. So many kinds of philosophies. This is the place where still, even after 1,000+ years of colonization, some dharma still remains. Even though there is all kinds of problems and many people are in jail, and many people belong in jail but still are freely roaming the streets, still this is a place of dharma. Why? Because this is a place that emphasizes and worships dharma as not an order of Bhagavan, but as a very incarnation of Bhagavan. This is the place. And that's why it is Dharma Kshetra. Punya Kshetra. There is a lot of punya here. Because this kind of vidya in so many ashrams is happening. And we can say nowadays there are ashrams in Europe, there are ashrams in America, Canada, everywhere there are ashrams, yes. Now there are. But where were they first? Here only they were. From here it went over there. Yoga also. In places like California, every street corner has a yoga studio. Practically every street corner, in San Francisco, you turn left, yoga studio. Then you go to the street corner, another yoga studio. But where was the birthplace of yoga? Here. In fact, we take it for granted. Because the Ganga flows in our backyard, just like we take her for granted. People from Rameshwaram come and they are, and they get offended that somebody is nicely beating their clothes on the ghat. But for the people who live here, Ganga is just there. I mean, yes, they'll go for Arati and everything, but there is a certain way we take it for granted. But from other parts of India, when they come, they are brimming with devotion. So yoga also, maybe just the, okay, yes, yoga is there. In fact, now Indians are doing yoga because yoga is foreign returned. So now yoga's clout has gone up. Perhaps similar thing sadly is happening to Vedanta. Vedanta is becoming famous there, and then it is coming back with more reputation than before. But this is why it is Dharma Kshetra. This is where the avatars in the form of Lord Rama, Krishna, Buddha have walked this earth. This is where the legends of the Puranas take place. For us, this is the center of the universe. If you go to any big ancient city, for those people, that's the center of the universe. So for us, this is the center of the universe because Dharma is emphasized. How is it emphasized? It's emphasized in day-to-day conversations also. You lament, you go to somebody and say, oh, lot of my money was stolen from my backpack. And then the other person will not say, have you reported it to the police? That's the last question another Indian will ask. Because there are so many people. What will the police do? Instead they will say, by way of consolation, yeah, must have been some really intense karma for you to go through this. Anything that happens must have been some karma. That is why this is Dharma Kshetra. Because we take things with a sense of acceptance, we take things with a sense of, with a little bit of patience. We have a long duration view of life, of people, of things. We're not in a rush all the time. It's changing, but historically speaking, in a way, this is how it has been. And so, despite capitalism, colonization, Marxism, so many isms, all these isms, we still dare to flaunt our way of life, to practice our way of life. We haven't come under the pressure. Maybe one or two people have, but collectively we are still upholding this dharma. That's why Dharma Kshetra. And Kurukshetra is here near Delhi, on the way to Ambala. Actually a place, Kurukshetra. Kshetra means field. And the word Kshetra is important because in the 13th chapter when we come, the 13th chapter opens with the Lord's instruction. Idam shariram kaunteya kshetram iti abhidhiyate. This body, O Kunti's son, this body is called kshetra. It's you objectify this body. This body is not you. You are objectifying this body as one would a field. As one would describe a field. So many acreage. And here I have some jawar, some kind of a grain growing. Here there is corn. In the middle I have planted some wheat. Just like you can say that. You can also observe the body. And so what are you? You are not kshetra. What are you? Kshetrajnaha, the knower of the field. That is why another reason the word kshetra is introduced right here, right in the beginning, even before the teaching is introduced, so that we remember. And Kurukshetra is the place of King Kuru, the one who began the Kuru dynasty. Supposed to be a very dharmic king. And one day he was plowing his field. Have you ever seen a king plow his field? Never, because the king will have so many chattels and servants and farmers to do it. But here he himself was plowing the field, it is said, and Lord Indra from heaven got curious. What is he doing? Why is he plowing his own field? Let's go see. So he came and asked, what are you doing? And then when the plow was raised from the ground, he saw it was a golden plow. He was plowing the field with a golden plow. And then he said, it seems that I am sowing the seeds of dharma. I am planting dharma. I am not planting wheat. I am not planting rice. I am not planting any exotic grains like quinoa and amaranth and millet and all these things. I am not planting. I am planting dharma. I am sowing the seeds of dharma. Indra was very happy and gave him a boon that in this land, means the whole of India, dharma will always have a place. Dharma will persevere. And as I have described before, this is a whole battle of dharma. And dharma kshetra can be this body. Satkarma janyam. Where did we hear that? In our previous janma, right? Idam shariram satkarma janyam. Does it sound familiar? Where did we hear it? Huh? Just this morning. Where? Sattva-bodha. Satkarma janyam shariram. This body is born of good karma. Predominantly. Because the Upanishad and the Shastra doesn't like to talk about bad things. Because already one's life is full of difficulties. Punya, because of this body, I'm qualified to study this knowledge. Oh, but what about my cat? What about my dog? Don't worry, you yourself. We ourselves have had so many lives as cats and dogs. They will also have a life as a human being. You pray for that. The cows you meet on the streets, pray for that. When they go, ma, pray for them to say ma backwards, which is om. Pray for them. Next life they will be able to say, may they be able to say om. Pray for them. Right now, that's all. And they have a short life. 25 years cow, 12 years, 13 years, 16 years maximum dog, 12 years, 15 years cat, like this. They don't have long lives. There is some karma. They don't look at them as dog and cat permanently. Look at them as jivas who are undergoing a cat experience, a dog experience, a cow experience. We would all have had those experiences. So, after many, many, many lives of some punya fructifying, a special Vishesha punya fructifying, this has become a dharma kshetra. Why? Because I can study about dharma, I can practice about dharma, and the more I practice dharma, I make this body and this buddhi fit for knowledge. That's why it is dharma kshetra. Kurukshetra, again. Kurukshetra can be seen as karma kshetra, a place where action is taking place, various kinds of actions are taking place, and the actions are governed by dharma. The battle is between the head and the heart, the battle is between the buddhi and action, the battle is between dharma and adharma. So many conflicts. In fact, the first battle rages within, then only it comes out. Before the second, that's how we have seen in the First World War, Second World War. Hitler already had the battle here. We already had it here. Before he wreaked havoc and made the battle inevitable. So here too, with these princes, warring clans, the battle was already being fought in the mind. Dharma kshetre, in this punya kshetra, Kurukshetra, whose name is Kurukshetra, Samavetaha assembled, nicely gathered. Not not nicely gathered to have a picnic or to watch a show. They are in battle formations. They are in various battle formations. Samavetaha ke hu yuyutsavaha yodhum ichchavaha. Yuyutsavaha means it's a desiderative noun, just like mumukshu, jignasu. Mumukshu means what? Desirous of moksha. Jignasu, desirous of jnanam. Yuyutsu, desirous of yuddha. Yeah. Yodhum ichchuhu, the one who is desirous of fighting. Yuyutsavaha. This is actually not true, because in Duryodhana's army people were dragged by their hair. And some of them were just working in the field and they were just picked up. They didn't even know how to button their coats, and they didn't know how to walk in armor. They were walking two steps and then falling down because of the weight of the kavacha, the armor. Such was this motley crew of a quote-unquote army of Duryodhana. He had frightened everybody into fighting. So Yuyutsavaha is a euphemism which really does not describe Duryodhana's army. But anyhow, Dharma kshetre, Kurukshetre, Samavetaha, Yuyutsavaha. The people desirous of fighting gathered at this Punya Kshetra called Kurukshetra. Who are they? Mamakaha. This is how all trouble starts. Mamakaha. Mamakaha. My people. My dearly beloved people. Meaning, my sons and their sons. My sons, their sons, and other cousins, nephews, all these fellows. These are the people. And then Pandavaha, those Pandavas, sons of Pandu. In fact, they all grew up together. They were all in the same palace. They wore the same clothes. They ate the same food. They had the same teachers. Still, Dhritarashtra's heart, that's why the blindness is metaphorical. In his heart, that distinction was there. What are my people doing? Pandavaha cha eva kima kurvata. Sanjaya. Oh Sanjaya, what did they do? What did they do means what? They have gathered to fight, he himself says in the first line. What did they do means they are bashing each other up to a pulp. That's what they are doing. ये भी कोई पूछने की बात है? This is something to ask. This is not something to ask. But he was hoping against hope. He knew Arjuna, that they were on the side of the right. He knew that. And besides, Daiva, the Daiva factor is embodied in the presence and persona of Lord Krishna. Whose side was Lord Krishna on? Duryodhana's side, correct? No. So, he was on the side of Arjuna and the Pandavas. Dhritarashtra was scared. When Daivam, when that unknown factor is walking and talking and is on your side, so to speak, is right there. You see every arrow, because he can't hang around the battlefield. He just, he said, I'm not going to fight, okay? At least drive this chariot. Every arrow that is intended for Arjuna has to pass Krishna first. Think about it. Arjuna is protected. And as long as Arjuna is protected, he knew nothing, nothing would happen to the Pandavas. His hope against hope was maybe Yudhishthira, out of qualms of dharma, would have just collected all his brothers and made them promise not to fight. Yudhishthira emotional. Yudhishthira loves all the people, his cousins also, just like his brothers. Yudhishthira does not like to do any wrong things, and he may consider this battle wrong. And he may, as an elder and as the eldest brother, call off the battle and then say, okay, we'll take that other option of repairing to the forest for 12 years. No problem, we've already done it once. We'll do it again. Well, even 1 year in the forest is just, you are big cat food, okay? In those days. Jungle life is not easy. But still, Dhritarashtra was perhaps hoping that he would have just fled or just gone, leaving my sons intact. That's why he said, Kim Akurvata. Otherwise, this question is meaningless. Kim Akurvata means what? They have not come to share their chapatis and sabji. They are not having a picnic. They haven't gone for a fun trip to the Kurukshetra to see the sights. No. Family trip. No. Of course, they'll be bashing each other up. But he's asking this hope against hope that somebody has survived. So nobody is killing anybody. Kimakurvata Sanjaya. And then Sanjaya responds. Sanjaya Uvacha. Sanjaya said. Drishtva. Actually, this is also Tva. But here it is Tva because it is of a little sandhi. Okay? Because it is preceded by Shakara. And so for that same same kind of a Savarna to be there, that the Takara is turned into Takara. Drish plus Tva. Drishtva. Drishtva. Tva means what? Having done. Drish to see plus Tva. Drishtva means having seen. Drishtva tu, whereas indeed many meanings tu has. Pandavanikam, Pandavasya Anikam, Anikam army. Having seen Pandava's army, Vyudham. Army is Vyudha is formation. Having seen the army and the formation, Duryodhana tada. At this point, after having seen this, tada Duryodhana Acharyam upasamgamya. Upa samipe, another prefix. How many do we have now? Pra, vi, and then a, and then upa. Some, we also say samaveta. Some means very well. Okay? Upa. Upa means near. Upanishad. Upa generally means near. Okay? So near. Upa, some, gamya. Again, I told you the twa changes into ya when it's a word that has prefixes. And what is the root verb here? Gam, to go. If it is just gam plus twa, it will be gatva. But upa plus sam plus gam, upasangamya, means closely approaching, having closely approached. Closely, the word, the sense is derived from the prefix upa. Sam means nicely with folded hands because he is approaching his teacher. Acharya upasangamya. Who is the acharya here? Drona. Very good. Dronacharya, he approaches. Raja vachanam abravit. Abravit said. Vachanam, these words the Raja said. Who is the Raja? Duryodhana. Why call him a Raja? Should be called Atatayin. Terrorist, usurper, encroacher. But Sanjaya is in the pay of the king. He cannot say that idiot. No. He has to go by the protocol and call this one Raja. Raja Vachanam. So having seen, so what does the verse read like in English? Sanjaya said, having seen the battle formations of the Pandavas' army, Duryodhana then approached Dronacharya, and the king said the following words. Then the next thing should be, if the king said the following words, the next thing should be Duryodhana uvacha. Correct? Yes? Is it there? Why? We'll find out tomorrow. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om.